Hey guys, what's up? We are back once again with another college football prediction video. Hit the subscribe button down below. Help me reach my goal of 1,150 subscribers by the end of July. Also, make sure you like, comment, all of that good stuff. Check out the Patreon page. But the big announcement for today is Sorgy Stories, one of our friends here on YouTube, him and American Football Network. We do a lot of stuff together. His dad, or it's Anthony and his dad. His dad released his first ever book. The link will be in the description. It is a sports book about different topics. I'm ordering mine right now. So make sure you check out that video or that link in the description. If you aren't able to buy one, go ahead and share it with some sports friends of yours. Otherwise, let's get started with today's video. So Iowa State's schedule, it's a very bottom-heavy schedule in my opinion. With this schedule, you start off with the two Iowa schools. You make your way to Ohio before heading off to Oklahoma, and then making your way throughout the Big 12 schedule. So Northern Iowa, you start out with Northern Iowa. This is going to be a win. Northern Iowa is not the same Northern Iowa team that played Iowa State a couple of years ago. And really, Northern Iowa has been a pain in the or has been in the side, a pain in the side. I'm trying to figure out the words that I want to say here. They've been a pain to Matt Campbell and Iowa State the past couple of times they've played. They only beat Northern Iowa 16-10 and beat them 29-26 the previous time. I honestly don't know what Vegas is thinking when they put lines of -32 and -23 in those two games. They weren't even close with either of those lines. But here's the thing. I think that Iowa State wins this game, but I do think that it's another semi-close matchup. Northern Iowa is a little bit better this year than they were last year. Northern Iowa generally plays a pretty difficult schedule. So last year they finished with a 6-5 record, if I believe correctly. But this is a game that you are definitely going to have to you're going to have to try. You're not going to be able to just walk over the Panthers and stuff like that. You're going to have to work for it. Iowa State owns this series, but by no means is this a team that you're going to just be able to walk over every time that you play them. And Iowa State fans know that very well. Now you have Iowa. You have the Hawkeyes. Last year was the first time that Matt Campbell ever beat the Iowa Hawkeyes, the first time in a long time, as Iowa really owns the series between the two. But really, when it comes down to it, I think that this game is a loss. I'm sorry, but I know you beat Iowa last year. But Iowa, they just own Iowa State, and I just have a hard time picking Iowa State in this game. It's a matchup in which, yeah, sure, you won last year, but overall, I do think that it is definitely a game that you got to work on. Though I do think that quarterback-wise and offensively, you are way better than Iowa. You do lose Xavier Hutchinson, but you do bring back your quarterback and Hunter Deckers and your back in Jair Brock. I may be saying that name wrong. I'm sorry if I am. But I think that overall this team, I think with an improved Deckers, it could make it a very interesting game. But overall, Iowa and Kirk Ferentz just owns Iowa State. So I just don't see them winning this game. But it is a possibility. Maybe they do. But I really think right now it's going to be a loss. Then you have Ohio. You have to head to Ohio, and it is interesting that you head to Ohio because that rarely happens, that a Power 5 team heads to a Group of 5 team. But Iowa State is 27-5 against MAC teams, very good overall at dominating this conference. I do think that you get a win. Ohio is definitely a solid MAC program, but they definitely have a lot to work on. They do bring back a couple of pieces. They definitely have a couple of pieces to their name. They do bring back their starting quarterback in Kirk Roke, who was magnificent last year. 25 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 3,300 yards, 69% completion percentage. They bring back 15 total starters. And last year, Iowa State did beat the crap out of them 43-10. But overall, this is a Ohio team that I think could make this game competitive if Iowa State again has a bad season. But I do think overall Ohio should be able, or you should be able to beat Ohio pretty easily. Then you have Oklahoma State. This is an Oklahoma State team that you're glad that you play them earlier on in the year rather than later in the year. It is an Oklahoma State team that has a lot of work to do. They lost a lot of pieces. Let's just put it that just puts it mildly. Losing a lot of pieces. You lost your starting quarterback. You lost your starting running back. You lose all of your wide receivers except for your top one, really. So you have a lot of pieces to replace. You lose 5 defensive starters. You're really in a tough spot here if you're Oklahoma State. So I do think that Iowa State does get the win here. And with it being a home game and Hunter Deckers at quarterback, I do think that you are able to get a win there. Then you have a road game against the Sooners, and this is a game that I was kind of 50-50 on. I'm not as big on the Sooners as a lot of people are, and Iowa State seems to be upsetting people at a pretty good pace, as that has been Matt Campbell's kind of calling card, is upsetting people. But here's the thing that I would have to say about this matchup. I think that Oklahoma will be highly ranked and a little bit overranked, in my opinion. Coming into this game is most likely what will happen. But I think when it comes down to it, this game will be a loss. I think that Dylan Gabriel's just brings a little bit too much firepower, and I think that Oklahoma is just a little bit better of a team than Oklahoma State. Now you welcome home the TCU Horned Frogs, and I do think that last year it was a killing in this game. You got the crap beat out of you by TCU. The game was 62-14, which the previous year, which is what I find ironic, the previous year you did lose to TCU. Or you beat TCU 48-14, so I do kind of find that ironic. But I think when it comes down to it, I think that this game is another loss. I think that even though TCU does lose a lot of pieces, they also bring a lot of pieces in. They have a lot of transfers coming into this program. You have a couple of transfers from Alabama in the offensive tackle. I'm trying to remember his name. Tommy Brockenmeyer. You have a lot of other transfers. You have Chandler Morris at quarterback. That should make an interesting kind of mark there. They're going to have a lot of offensive change. You lost your offensive coordinator to Clemson, obviously, and Garrett Riley, and you only returned 3 offensive starters. Obviously, you lost Quentin Johnson and Matt Duggan and Kendre Miller and Amir DeMarcado. So you do lose a lot of different pieces. But I think when it comes down to it, TCU, I really like where Sonny Dykes has this program heading. I think that they'll be able to get the win. Then you have a road game against Cincinnati. I think that you win this game. I think Cincinnati is probably the worst team in the Big 12. Or I take that back. The second worst team in the Big 12. I think Houston is probably the worst. But when it comes to Cincinnati, you're just in a tough spot. Luke Fickell left to go to Wisconsin, obviously an upgrade of a job, and you brought in Scott Satterfield. I personally do not like Scott Satterfield. I think that his job at Louisville was very subpar, and maybe he just needs a different environment and he'll succeed a little bit more. But this Cincinnati team has a lot of work to do. You're looking at a team that just simply they have a lot of adversity coming their way. And I think that Cincinnati, I'm trying to remember who they're starting. Emory Jones is their starting quarterback. I forgot about that. But he transferred over from Arizona State. And I think that does help a little bit, but you lost Ben Bryant to the transfer portal as well. So that does definitely hurt a little bit. And I think that losing all of you lost pretty much your entire wide receiver core. I'm looking at my magazine here that I read a lot of my data off of. You bring back one returning wide receiver, and that was Ryan Montgomery. with 4 catches and 65 yards last year. Otherwise, you lose every single wide receiver, tight end, any pass catcher whatsoever. You lost a lot of defensive players as well, including Ivan Pace. You're in a tough spot if you're Cincinnati. You're in a very tough spot. Then you have Baylor on the road, and I think that this is the beginning of a very tough stretch here for the Cyclones. I think that the Baylor game is a loss. I think Baylor and Dave Aranda are going to have a bit of a bounce-back season here. I think that an improved overall offensive line and defensive line should help out their season. A healthy overall a healthy Blake Shapen and a guy. I think that Shapen, as long as he's able to improve, which I think that he's going to be able to improve, I think that he will be able to bring this team to a little bit more dominance. Then you have a home game against Kansas. I think Kansas is a much, much better team this season. And you're looking at a team that, in my opinion, has a chance to compete for a Big 12 championship appearance in this Kansas team because, well, Jalen Daniels was a great quarterback before he got injured last year. And I think that with all of that, you're looking at definitely a big experience there for the Jayhawks. Then you have a road game against BYU. This is going to be a very tough environment, never an easy game to go play in Provo. I think that you do get a loss there handed to you. I think BYU, even though they are going to probably have some struggles with their first year in the Big 12, I think overall BYU just simply has a little bit too many athletes, and they are a good overall team that I think that even with a new quarterback in Keaton Slovich, I do think that helps you out a little bit. But overall, this is definitely a team that has a little bit of work to do in Iowa State. Then you have Texas. I think that this is another loss. Quinn Ewers and company, even though I was very tempted to have this as a win because Iowa State is very good, like I said earlier on, at upsetting teams. And they have done that to Texas previously in the past. Or wait, no, that wasn't an upset. I was thinking of 2020 when they beat Texas when they were number 15 in the country. So not really an upset. But overall, this is definitely a team that is going to be very tough to beat. And I don't see Iowa State having the dudes to be able to compete in a game like that, other than a just straight up upset. Then you have a road game against Kansas State. I'm making this another loss into the season on a very disappointing 5-game losing streak, ending the season with a 5-7 record. I know it's very unfortunate, and you were not looking for a 5-7 record as a Cyclones fan. You're looking for at least a bowl appearance, if not even more than that. It is a 1-game improvement compared to last season, but definitely would be a disappointing season. But I do think that this team can improve, and I think the ceiling is maybe 7 or 8 wins. But I think with Matt Campbell, 8 wins is pretty much the ceiling that you're going to get. I know he got 9 wins in that 2020 season, but that was a little bit of a crazy season in and of itself. So that's going to wrap up today's video. Hit 2 videos down below and the subscribe button up here. And as always, have a great day. Bye, guys.